Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to HBCU Game Day. I'm Tolly Carr in Atlanta, and we are going to catch up with my man. He is my brother from another mother. And let me tell you, those mother-son photos he posts on Facebook or something else, they are hilarious from back in the day. All right, let's check in with my man, Uncle Neely from Thee Pregame Show. And as you can see, Uncle is like, where is Waldo? Where is Neely? Neely, you and I were chatting last night during that terrible blowout game. I said, Neely, you have become like a star of your own reality show. People want to know, where is Neely? Where's Neely going? Where is Neely's allegiances? I don't like that Neely did this. I'm in full support of Neely. Everybody's talking about Neely, so I said to myself, Neely is better for business than he has ever been. So let's lean into more of my man, Uncle Neely, who we find right now in Boulder, Colorado, the University of Colorado, or is it Colorado University? So somebody corrected me one day. It's Colorado University, right, Neely? I don't want to offend anybody here.
CU, the C in Colorado University.
All right, there you go. All right, so Neely, listen, they're not going to tell the story of Deion Sanders, the former Jackson State head coach. He's now there at Colorado. You have followed him. Neely, you remind me of Muhammad Ali's brother. He was there, taking all the pictures. He was there for the entire journey and chronicled everything, the man behind the scenes. Neely, let's lay it out, because the people want to know, man. What is your mission now? What is your goal? What are you doing? Where are you going to be? Tell us what's up with Neely in 23.
You know, more of the same, but 2022, the location does not matter. We're going to tell these stories, chronicle these stories about Coach Prime and what he has accomplished while at an HBCU and what he is doing being the first coach to move from an HBCU to a Power 5 and brought a good number of staffers, not only from Jackson State, but Mississippi Valley as well. So the story continues. There were players from HBCUs that will be joining this program, their staff, support staff, video crew, you name it, that are now out here in Boulder. So we're going to continue to tell that story of the impact that Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, has made on HBCUs and where he goes next in the Power 5 and beyond. So looking forward to just being here, being that fly on the wall, and capturing all of that information and sharing it with the world.
All right, I know the answers to the question, but I got to serve the people. Are you going to also be in Jackson? Are you still covering the Tigers? Are you going to split your time? Like, what's going to happen here?
Well, the goal is to split the time and to cover all things that are Jackson State football, cover all things that are Deion Sanders and Coach Prime, and what those things lead to. So, you know, Jackson State has opponents. We'll be covering those. We hope to cover Jackson State and be inside just like we were before. But we're going to focus on controlling what we can control. And right now, what we're controlling is this market space of Deion Sanders and his influence in the role of Coach Prime. So we're here capturing these stories, man, and interviewing coaches who made the transition from Mississippi to Colorado. All of that content you'll be able to find on the Pregame Show page, on YouTube and beyond. It's an exciting time, man, here in Boulder, Colorado.
And just so people know, and we're not going to sit here and explain this from week to week, but since it's been such a thing, this is a historical moment. Now, there are probably still some lingering feelings and some lingering emotions, but to have a coach leave an HBCU, his quarterback, his number one recruit, several assistant coaches, I think 6 total Jackson State players have transferred to Colorado. Neely, we have never seen anything like this before. A lot of it can kind of get lost in the sauce because Deion Sanders is such this big thing. But this is a historic moment in college football history. It just does, this is not a regular occurring thing. And to capture it, man, I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to it. I am still a huge fan of Shedeur Sanders, of Shiloh, the entire family, of Travis Hunter, Automatica, all those kids, to me personally. The first thing out of my mouth is going to be, hey, they started at J-State. They always have that J-State swag, no matter if it's at Colorado, in the NFL, the XFL, wherever they made their football journey will carry them. So let's start there. Just being around the program, what type of transition, getting acclimated to new environment, new conference, new everything, are the kids from Jackson State? From what you have seen, how is that going, Neely?
Well, I'm going to go back a little bit, Tolly, and not start right there, even though you asked me.
You're the boss. You're the boss. Go ahead.
I want to go back to where you said about explaining this thing. And you're exactly right. This is not going to be something I'm going to be in the business of explaining to folks who are still in their feelings and grieving and upset and that kind of thing, because although I'm sensitive to that, we can't let time go by where you say, okay, now I'm with it, and we go do it. Too much of history is lost in. So we can't afford for people to get over their feelings and then start. We got to start before they get over their feelings. Someone has to be there to tell the stories, to capture the information, even while wounds may still be open or healing. I will also say, from a very small minority when you're looking at the comments. Most of the folks are excited about this and recognize that, as you have articulated, Tolly, the historical nature of this. To have a coach go from an HBCU to a Power Five, to bring assistant coaches with him who were at HBCUs, including, if you look at the rivalry of it, a rival HBCU of Mississippi Valley with Coach Dancy being here, the players who were at HBCUs that are following him here. Those stories and that history are important blueprint, and we don't know where these stories are going to end up, but we have to be here to tell them, because once you start at an HBCU, no matter where you go in life, you take that HBCU with you. So you're going to see some things in Boulder that you've never seen in Boulder before, because you're going to have that Jackson State influence with Coach Prime and his players and staff as they bring that culture here, a winning culture, I might add, because we can't get lost in back-to-back undefeated conference and conference championships while at Jackson State. This has never been seen before in the history of college football. I'm blessed, lucky, and happy to be a part of it and capturing all this information.
All right, let's get to the kids now. How would you say, from what you've seen, their transition into a totally new everything?
Yeah, most of them are, school will be starting next week, and most of them are getting here this week to find places to live and that kind of thing. Of course, Deion Sanders is here, and you can see on his social media the happiness and smile on his face. And he even did a very well done, put together shout out to Jackson State and his love for Jackson State and the people of Jackson, and his social media, something that he did not have to do, but just his character. And you see the appreciation, and that, hey, I'm not abandoning Jackson State. That place has been near to dear to me. You're going to see me in future homecomings at Jackson State as my career goes on. Travis Hunter's been here getting settled. A lot of the other players are trickling in, not just from JSU, but other schools. So we'll be here, in January and February, and seeing how their transition is going, and show you the good, bad, and the ugly of how this thing is working. Because Boulder ain't Jackson, Mississippi. The Pac-12 ain't the SWAC. And these guys got their start in Jackson and in the SWAC. And we're going to see how this transition goes for them from not just a football standpoint, but from a human standpoint.
The SWAC Rookie of the Year, Kevin Coleman Jr., who was a big part of the offense there at Jackson State, he was in the portal, did not go to Colorado, did not follow his former coach and some of his teammates. He actually ends up at the University of Louisville. He's going to play in the ACC. That was a real big story for us at HBCUGameDay.com. Neely, were you surprised that Coleman ended up at Louisville?
I was not. Not at all, because everyone has to make their own choice and decision this thing. Just because you were on a team at Jackson State doesn't mean that you fit the team at Colorado, whether that fit is in an athletic standpoint and metrics and so forth, or just a cultural and geographical fit. We wish Kevin Coleman the best. Tolly, what I say, once a Tiger, always a Tiger. He did an exceptional job at Jackson State, and I'm looking forward to him having much success as a Louisville Cardinal, just as I am for these guys to be successful as Colorado Buffaloes. So I wasn't shocked, that Kevin Coleman made that decision, because it is a personal decision. Everybody just thinks, Deion's going to take everybody. Coach Prime is going to do this. These are young men developing their talents. They have families. They have goals, they have aspirations, and sometimes those things don't line up, and it does not mean that one party is wrong or the other is right. It just wasn't a fit, and they make a choice to go elsewhere.
Look, man, what type of fishing is Travis going to do there in Colorado? What do you get the ice snapper up there? What's the fishing like?
I have no idea, but he has certainly been talking about it. I think they do a little fly fishing out here where you got to get in the water. He's a bank guy like myself. I don't know if he deals with a lot of boats and wading, but he's excited to be here because he is an outdoor guy. And there's a lot of, activities here in and around Boulder, high quality of life. So he's been bouncing around, playing a lot of basketball and, continuing to get stronger because we still haven't seen, that 100% Travis Hunter coming off the injury from high school, which he had a surgical repair at Jackson State and, was limiting his performance here. And just as the season was getting midway and upwards, you saw what he can do. And now you're going to get to see a Travis Hunter at 100% in the Pac-12. And I'm excited for him to be able to show and prove that, hey, this ain't no fluke. I am as advertised.
We have seen a lot of Travis Hunter on the Amazon docuseries, Coach Prime. 4 episodes have dropped. And I think I had a total of 10 seconds maybe. I think I had about 4 seconds on camera. I think I heard my voice for another 6 seconds. Nowhere near the FaceTime of Neely, who was just all over this thing, which I'm not jealous, just pointing that out. What would you say has been the impact when you look at that, and how much importance, how much value would you put on that docuseries that really just took you right inside that Jackson State program on Amazon Prime?
I think it's immeasurable. You went from having a documentary on Barstool to now having it on Amazon Prime. That's more eyes that get to see what Jackson State has to offer, to get to see programmatically what was built there and what will continue there under T.C. Taylor. So I think that you couldn't put a dollar value on it. When you look at 60 Minutes, Sports Illustrated covers, when you look at what happened with Good Morning America and Strahan and the Suit donations, et cetera, and the list goes on all the way to Jimmy Fallon and the Tonight Show. And to have that documentary end the Coach Prime era at Jackson State still shows the value and what can and will continue to happen at HBCUs, particularly Jackson State, from that exposure. Everybody's not going to a Power 5. Everybody's not going to Colorado, but you're going to see a continued uptick in the conversations and support of HBCUs because of what was happening under Coach Prime the past 3 seasons at Jackson State.
When I watch that documentary, I sit there and I think, man, somewhere across the country, and this might be happening in several places across the country. There's an 8-year-old or a 10-year-old who that's going to make an impact. And that kid can be a great football player. He can be a great engineer, mathematician, you name it. And a positive impact of Jackson State. Because, man, look, that thing's in 4K, man. The colors are popping. There's nothing about you sitting there watching that Jackson State story on Amazon that makes you say, I don't know, man, that looked kind of shaky. That looked kind of suspect. That level of production, that level of storytelling made you say, hey, I want to check that out. That's a place I could see myself. And those are the type of things, man, that can, because Neely, when you look at the other schools, that's what captures you as a kid. Like, you're sold on a school before you realize what's happening. I was a little kid in North Carolina. I was sold on the UNC Tar Heels before I even knew what was happening. It was done. I didn't find out about HBCUs till later in life. But this level of exposure, man, that's just one of the steps. There's many steps that need to occur that when you talk about, trying to a little bit at a time, even the playing field.
I think is the biggest step and the most crucial step in evening the playing field. I understand Amazon Prime ain't following, every coach that's an HBCU coach or a SWAC coach. I get that. But what you do have is the power of Amazon Prime right in your pocket with a cell phone. And one of the things that Coach Prime showed HBCUs, particularly the SWAC, especially Jackson State, is the power of social media and you telling your own story on a weekly basis, a daily basis, even an hourly basis, that you can turn that phone camera around and record something, sending out to the world. And it really helps offset those recruiting budgets, those lack of resources, and it gets you that attention and exposure, which leads to greater attention and exposure, which leads to endowment growth, enrollment growth, donation growth, you name it. And so I think the blueprint has been laid out for HBCUs to follow with Coach Prime, and understanding that, when you got to harness this new awareness and this renewed sense of urgency with HBCUs, and that, hey, even with people like Travis Hunter and Deion Sanders, who went out there hard and talked about why they were coming to an HBCU and the opportunity to open up to leave, and they still show love to the HBCU, nothing has changed. The transfer portal is a game changer in college football. People are going to be coming and going forever. But what those guys established is that you can go. And there are other guys who've established that you can stay. And so it's just a new era in college football. And HBCU Game Day, Thee Pregame Show, and Coach Prime were just a major part of showing the world what was going on and what continues to go on.
I love it when you include us in the same sentence as Deion Sanders. Do that more, Neely. That's good marketing. I like that.
But, Tyler, it would be different if I were lying. If I were standing there going, now, how do I put these two guys together, these two entities together? But if you look at the growth of Jackson State social media, you look at the growth of the Pregame Show social media, you look at the growth of HBCU Game Day social media, they're all ticking up about the same start during that Coach Prime era. And even with Coach Prime's departure, you didn't see a departure in your numbers. In fact, more people migrated over because now you got a Pac-12 audience or you have a Boulder audience or a Denver audience that's interested in where he came from and those stories that continue to be told. So I think it's a great time, to be in this space, this HBCU space, and still telling these connected stories, even with the departure.
December was our greatest month ever of viewership at HBCUGameDay.com. So he ain't lying. He ain't lying. The numbers rose when Coach Prime got there. He ain't lying. It's just facts. It's just how the business works. And when you say that, Neely, I still don't think people will ever understand how much industry grows around one individual like it does Deion Sanders. And when LeBron James retires, you might see that same thing. Of course, we know about Michael Jordan. There are just a handful of unique players, unique people in this country that are force multipliers that can make markets move and shift. They don't chase money. Money chases them. And this is one of the – if he did not make that decision to go to Jackson State, history would not be the same. And there's more people. I'm not saying, you understand what I'm saying here.
I do. And let's get our audience to understand it. There are just certain people with that gravitas, that they bring enough to the table that there's a vacuum trail behind them that pulls things with them no matter where they're going. And one thing I've shared with people here in Boulder, whether it's the folks at the university or I'm out at a restaurant, is you have no idea what is coming. Like, you think but you don't know, because with this guy comes so many ancillary things that you can't tabulate, that you can't count on and figure out. You just have to be ready for it and go through it and adapt on the fly, because you're going to have celebrities like you've never seen before coming to Boulder to see games. You're going to have, documentaries taking place. College Game Day will be here. All those kind of things take place just because of his energy. Now, one thing that's happening here in Colorado, whether they were 1-11 or, 6-6, didn't matter. Their stadium is pretty full, kind of like the HBCUs, but you didn't have that exterior energy that he brings. And so it's going to be a new thing here. And it also propelled the HBCUs because what they get to build off of. Do you really think of Ed Reed is at Bethune-Cookman if you didn't have a Deion Sanders at Jackson State?
I ain't arguing. I'll just let it marinate. I'll just let it sit out there. You talk about celebrities. Let me look at the law books in Colorado. What's legal? I think you might get a lot of Snoop Dogg out in Boulder, Neely. I'm just guessing. I'm just guessing. He might make a few stops.
I would imagine that if Snoop pulled up to Jackson State and we were just getting into medical licensing and that you could have an excuse to have it on you, I'm sure Snoop might make every home game here in Colorado.
Just not lying, but having fun. Neely, man, I know time is short. Battery life is short. My wife has called me a little while ago, said, "Where you at?" I ain't lying about that either. Why do I get in so much trouble with you, Neely?
I have no idea. You every week she ends up part of the show and you run off the set.
All right, last thing here, because we will talk again. Watching that game last night, man, TCU, I guess we called them by law the runners, national champion runner-up, second place. That's the team that Shedeur Sanders is going to face next year. That is the team that Travis Hunter is going to face next year. And I didn't realize until a couple of weeks ago, I was looking at their schedule. I'm like, man, that is going to be so exciting to see a team that was competing for a national championship, to see these kids that started at Jackson State that we still love and will still cheer for, having a chance to compete, man, against one of the best. And and maybe pull off a bit. What a way to start their new careers at their new homes by knocking off TCU, which could happen. Who knows what's going to happen, but they'll have the opportunity.
Absolutely. And last night, it didn't matter, but I was actually pulling for TCU for those reasons.
Me too.
Because I would love to have seen TCU as national champions and then facing Coach Prime's coaching staff, Coach Prime's players from the SWAC, and other HBCUs. I would have loved to see that narrative and how that stacks up. Didn't happen that way for TCU, but they're still on the schedule to face, Colorado University and Coach Prime and all those things. So you're exactly right, Tolly. To see how Travis Hunter and the Deion Sanders or some of the other players that are coming like a automatic model, to see how they stack up against someone who was in the national championship game, you couldn't script it any better for that to happen within the first or second game of the season of Coach Prime's inaugural season here at this Power 5.
All right, Neely. How long are you going to be out in Boulder? How often do you think you're gonna be out there chronicling and capturing the stories of Coach Prime, the former JSU players, Coach Harrell, Coach Dancy, all those guys?
As often as I can. Coach Prime has opened the door and said, Neely, it is just like it was at Jackson State. You are family. You're here. Do what you got to do. Trust you fully. So we're going to be here as content grows. Naturally, this time of the year with school was not in, there was not a lot of activity. We were just covering some of the signing day stuff. So as we get into spring ball, we'll be here a lot, seeing that growth and maturation, and really want to, as we pointed out earlier, Tyler, deep dive into some of the human stories, not just football, on these folks who transitioned from Mississippi, from Jackson, a 85% African-American city, to Boulder, to a 90% predominantly white environment, from a SWAC school to a PWI. These stories are going to be bigger than just football. We're going to get into some of the human side of it as well to see how these folks are progressing. But the focus is always going to be on winning, because Coach Prime ain't trying to do this in 2 or 3 years from now. He's trying to win now. His staff is made up of so many former head coaches, you can't keep up with it. They've been working the transfer portal. I think the other day they were named here as the best team to utilize the portal so far. So I'm excited about being here to cover it, man. And to answer your question in that long way, going to be here as often and as early as the content demands.
Ain't no lying about that. Neely, before we go, man, I always tell a story about my wife that gets me in a little bit of trouble, and I also tell a little bit of your business. So if you tell me to shut up, I promise I'll edit this out. But I want to make this point because you're my brother, because I'm proud of you, and because I'm happy for your success. You have leaned fully into this. Like, forget my day job, I'm doing this, right? Like you have gone all in.
All the chips are in the middle of the table. I told Coach Prime, here's a fun fact. I call him Cody, Coach of the Year. So his nickname to me is Cody. I never call him Coach Prime. Call him Cody. I told Cody he always bets on 21 Black, and I'm betting on Neely. We're going to make this thing work. So this content, this narrative, this storytelling is a passion of mine. I'm excited about it. There can be naysayers, but their vision ain't my vision, and I don't hear them and adhere to it. This is my life and my risk and my time, and this is what we're going to do. And I believe that in short order, not the long run, people are going to see what has taken place from an HBCU platform, and it's going to open the door for other coaches and other hires from HBCUs to move up that coaching ladder, even all the way to the NFL.
And we need that, brother, because look, college is one thing. We just saw the Houston Texans. Good Lord, they should be called the Houston Fire of Black Mans. Like, bruh, like, come on.
They gonna run a brother off in Houston like it ain't nothing.
Like it ain't nothing.
There's a movie studio called Warner Brothers. You go down to Houston, Texas, it's Warren A. Brother.
For sure. That might be the dad joke of the year. I like that, man. But listen, as a content creator, as an entrepreneur, man, continue to thrive and continue to do your thing. You are an inspiration for a lot of people. And look, man, if they're not talking, you're not doing anything. So that's what I tell everybody for sure.
Absolutely.
Let
Let me underscore something there, Tali, that is I don't even want to say equally important. It's more important. I've spent, 15 years or more on the board of directors for the Boys and Girls Club of Central Mississippi, been chair of the board for the past 4 years. The biggest thing out of this for me is this impact on these young people's lives. Is to be here as a mentor, as a coach, uncle, as you call it, working with the Travis Hunter, working with the Mata, working, with so many players to name that were at Jackson State or coming here and not coming here. That kind of thing, and showing them the power of social media and helping them create their own content and getting them on their paths. Because as Coach Prime has articulated time and time again, everybody ain't going to the NFL, but someone has to be in your life and show you what else you can be outside of sports. And so that part and that role is just a personal passion of mine that I really enjoy.
All right, well, keep doing that thing, man. Hope to catch up to you soon. We'll be talking to you. Keeping up with the coaching staff and players there, and always talking a little Jackson State as well. He is my man from Thee Pregame Show. We didn't get a Chuck reference in. What's up, Chuck? Usually Chuck is the butt of a joke at some point. We're just going to say, what's up, Chuck? Hope you're doing well there. Warner Brother Chuck, you're down in Houston. You need to be part of the Warner Brother committee.
Chuck should apply for the job with the Texans. One and done.
He'll at least get a year. For sure. All right, he's Neely. I'm Tyler. You guys take it easy. We'll talk to you soon.